For the person with borderline personality disorder, or BPD for short, it can feel like there are two separate entities living inside of them. One who is a light angel full of love, empathy, and a deep ability to connect with others. And the other side is a dark wolf that can be very destructive. The change between these two forces can be swift and unpredictable, going from intense pleasures, incredible emotional highs, perfect compatibility, to a messy, tormented, and fatally flawed relationship. And this can happen almost overnight. I'm Lise, and in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 things you need to know if you have a partner with borderline personality disorder. At the end of this video, I will explain why BPD is sometimes mistaken for narcissistic or antisocial personality disorder. I will focus on romantic relationships with a female with BPD, but this information applies to males as well. The reason I focus more on men is because in my 25-year career as a therapist and life coach, I have found that there is a significant lack of support and resources available to men. Before I start, this is part 2 of a video I posted a few weeks ago. So to watch part 1, just click on the link above. Okay, so number 1 is the idealization and devaluation. A person with BPD quickly and frequently switches emotional states from extremely positive to extremely negative, often in response to things that would be considered minor by most. The borderline does not always know why their mood changed so drastically or disproportionately, but suddenly they can't see any positive in you. And they don't remember that yesterday they wanted to marry you, they don't recall how safe you made them feel, or don't remember the accumulation of good deeds you've done up until now. In the moment, they hate you, can't stand the sight of you, and they see you as the source of all of their problems. No matter how often they switch from extremes of idealization to devaluation and back again, they don't realize that in a few hours or a few days, they will feel completely different again. This alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation is often referred to as splitting, and it can result in the projection of intensely positive and negative emotions which they associate to you. In other words, when they feel good, they associate and project this positive state onto you, believing that you are responsible for this positive shift in their emotions. And the same thing happens when they feel bad. They see you as the source of their pain, or at least as failing to provide the stability, support, and relief that they are seeking. Splitting also happens when the borderline creates an ideal image of you in their mind and then relates to you through this fantasy ideal image of you rather than the actual you, which happens to be multifaceted and imperfect. And what happens when fantasy doesn't match reality is that the person with BPD gets extremely disappointed and disillusioned with you. You are not meeting their unrealistic expectations. And because they view the world in black and white, in absolutes, if you're not perfect, then you are the worst thing ever. They can't hold 2 conflicting ideas about someone in their mind. So when you do something bad, you no longer fit with the ideal image they had of you, and so you go straight from the top of the pedestal to the bottom of the barrel. You go from being her knight in shining armor to the devil himself. And not because you cheated on her or did some great harm, it's usually in response to something relatively minor. And in fact, it may have nothing to do with you at all. When she withdraws from you after a period of idealization and starts devaluing you, you may feel desperate to fix things, to make her happy again, to get her love and attention back. So maybe you apologize, promise to never do that thing again. Or maybe you bend over backwards to try to meet her expectations and be better. And eventually her mood does switch back to positive and you are back on top. And she's back to projecting her love, trust, and radiance onto you. making you feel so very special, so very important and valued. And you may start to believe that if you just try hard enough, you will be able to keep only the light side of her. But if you are seeking only her positive side, or that ideal version of her you fell in love with, you too will be disappointed and disillusioned. So when she's in that intoxicating, happy mood, idealizing you, making you feel so good, just remember that although she's projecting a positive state onto you and it feels absolutely amazing, these highs do come with lows. And once you're addicted to the highs, you will be chemically motivated to work very, very hard to keep the highs and avoid the lows. But you need to learn that the extremes of idealization and devaluation have little to do with you and everything to do with BPD. That said, with treatment, the person with BPD can learn to recognize that you are not the source of their shifting psychological states, and they can learn to better tolerate their own emotional distress and refrain from projecting those intense emotions onto you and acting out in harmful ways. Number 2 is the crushing fears that the person with borderline personality disorder experiences. And these fears include fear of rejection and abandonment.
He pushes people away before they have a chance to leave him. It's a defense mechanism, all right?
But also are accompanied with a huge fear of engulfment, where they sense that they are getting swallowed up by the relationship and need to escape immediately. They can go from being clingy, needy, and devaluing themselves, saying things like, I don't know why you're with me. You're going to leave me when you find out what I'm really like. And then to pushing you away, saying that she's not sure you're the one. And even though yesterday you were soulmates, now she's not sure about you anymore. And this push-pull creates major confusion, even for people with secure attachment styles. But for people with insecure attachment style, this is a very unbearable dynamic that ends up draining the life out of you and out of the relationship. It drains the trust, the security, and everything that the person with BPD really needs. So the very thing the person with BPD is seeking most gets ripped away as this dark wolf, this dark entity, attacks them repeatedly, often giving them very little reprieve in between. This is another cause for splitting behavior. When they feel abandoned or rejected, they get all consumed with you and they're trying to please you and they're idealizing you, trying to get your love and acceptance. When they feel that fear of engulfment, they start to find that you're clingy and annoying. So if she pulls away from you, you may need to accept the end of the relationship. And if you do, she may become obsessed with trying to get you back, promising that things will be different. If you refuse, you may find that she cannot accept this. And if by some chance you get fed up with all the back and forth drama and you end the relationship, you may find that this is not going to be your normal breakup. Now, it is possible that she may walk away and find someone else immediately, but it's also possible that her crushing fear of rejection and abandonment will not allow her to let you go easily. She may call you 500 times a day, spam you with texts and emails, hound you on social media, show up to your favorite hangouts, try to get through to you by contacting your friends and family, offer you favors or irresistible promises. You may find yourself having to block her. This might make you feel cruel as you refuse to engage and get sucked back in. And she will truly wonder how you can do this to her, how you can be so cruel and inhumane. And without treatment, she will not be able to see how her symptoms are causing this toxic cycle. Number 3 is suicide and self-harm. The borderline experiences so much psychological distress that they are constantly grappling with their own mind, overtaken by obsessive thoughts as well as intense emotions, unable to regulate themselves as their own mind closes in on them. There's no escape because the problem is stemming from inside of them. And they can get so twisted up in their own mind that suicide can seem like the only option. And like a moth drawn to the light, their mind sees this as the ultimate relief for themselves and everyone around them. Because the borderline symptoms are not constant and at times they can act completely normal, when they do act out in self-harming or suicidal ways, it can seem like it's all an effort to manipulate. However, their self-destructive behavior is typically a primal cry for help. It's a sense of hopelessness that runs deep down to the core of their being. They just want to disappear, eliminate the black wolf that they can't stand living with, that they know on some level is hurting those they love.
But I know what it's like to want to die. Hurt yourself on the outside to try to kill the thing on the inside.
Number 4 is instability. For the person with BPD, their symptoms don't make any more sense to them than they do to you. They don't know why they are misperceiving reality or why they are getting hit with emotional tsunamis.
You know, some days I wake up and I just feel so flat out that I'll do anything to feel different.
Lizzie, when we're together, you're fine. You're fun, you're...
Faking it.
Well, everybody does that.
Not like me.
They don't know why their core self is shaky and fragmented or why their behavior is so impulsive or even abusive. They may be lacking in self-awareness, and without treatment, they may also be lacking the skills as well as any sense of accountability for their extreme and sometimes very damaging behavior. For the self-aware borderline, especially when they are in treatment and working very hard to overcome their challenges, any setbacks or slip-ups will cause extreme feelings of shame and remorse. In this case, they will typically apologize profusely and wholeheartedly, and like an innocent child, panicking, desperately wanting to fix and repair the harm they've caused, as well as your image of them.
I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry.
So if you are with someone with BPD who is in treatment, you will need to expect and plan for stressful times, setbacks, and realize that progress will not be a straight line up. Number 5 is anger and rage. All of the borderline's emotions are dialed up way too high, and anger is one of the emotions that can be very, very difficult to handle. The borderline's anger can turn quickly into full-blown fits of rage that include nasty verbal attacks, sometimes even physical aggression. And if you match these emotions, the person with BPD can turn into a raging pit bull, frothing at the mouth and ready to rip your face off. When they are having an episode like this, you need to recognize it for what it is. You need to identify that she is completely dysregulated and taken over, she is not in control, and she is perceiving you as a threat to her survival and will stop at nothing. So her attacks can get extremely vicious, especially if you try to fight back. So the best thing to do is respectfully remove yourself from the situation as quickly and safely as possible. Now, I'm not saying that all those with BPD have such intense rage episodes. There are those who have milder forms of borderline personality disorder where symptoms are less extreme. There are those with quiet borderline who turn their anger and rage inward. And there are those who are receiving treatment and have learned to manage their symptoms better. Okay, so the reason that people with BPD are often confused with those with narcissistic or antisocial personality disorder is because, one, there is an overlap, so there can be co-occurring disorders, but more often, the reason that they're confused is that the borderline's behavior can be very impulsive, damaging, and even abusive. And when this happens repeatedly, with or without apologies, it can start to appear intentional and even malicious. If you like this video, please comment, subscribe, and if you're recovering from a toxic relationship, please check out my toxic relationship recovery program linked in the description section below. To learn more about the differences between BPD and NPD, click on the link above.